Well, there you go. We're all live on Facebook, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn, believe it or not. Hopefully, if I get the technology right, that is. So, anybody that is watching us currently, love to hear from you. Today is about presenting 60-second presentations. My name is Peter Roper. I'm a family businessman, as I'm sure you know, because you're on social media accordingly. I've got some pals with me today. I want to know a bit more as well. So, I'm going to do two things with this. I'm going to make a presentation for a little bit. One of these people are going to give me a hand on something, except that he didn't know it until right this second. And we're going to talk about things called presentations, and then we're going to disappear off. Hopefully that presentation will be useful for you, and we're going to have a quiet conversation as family business practice members. But we're sharing this bit because so many people want to know about 60-second presentations. They want to know about how to make a decent 60-second presentation, either at a networking event or when they suddenly get asked what it is they do. In the old days, it used to be called an elevator pitch, which I really dislike as a phrase, mainly because, well, we don't have elevators, do we? Is that true, guys? We don't, do we? You know, and I have never wanted to do an elevator pitch, even if I've been in that position. So I think these days, as in 2022, I think it's more about being relaxed and just sharing some ideas with people about what it is you do and how you do things in business. So with that in mind, I'm going to put this presentation on. I'm going to use some slides just for a few minutes to give you some ideas. Those of you here on the call at the minute will know I don't do lots of slides, but I'm going to do just a few because I think it's appropriate for this. So if I just add this to the stream right now, and I think you can all see the slides. Give me a nod, everybody. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's talk about presenting to people, speaking to people. Let's see what we can do with it. Well, I want to try and create an interest in just 60 seconds. Again, some of you may recognize the pair of faces on there and having a bit of fun. That was a bit of fun because they're actually trying to introduce themselves on the back of a scratty bit of paper, which we thought was hilarious fun. How do you create interest in just 60 seconds? It's not easy, everybody, is it? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? You know, you can get tongue-tied very easily into it. So there is something you can do. You can either do that. You can either go, oh my God, what am I going to do? Particularly on Zoom sessions, etc. Many people think to themselves, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? Or conversely, they're listening to the world's most boring 60 seconds presentation. You know, anybody ever, hands up, anybody had, while sitting there, been given to a boring 60-second presentation? Anybody ever received one of those? Has anybody ever received death by PowerPoint? Yeah, absolutely. So the record for death by PowerPoint, I have to corroborate it, but the worst presentation I ever saw, which was, to be fair, over 35 minutes, was 536 slides. Yes, it's true. I have seen the presentation. That is the biggest I've ever seen. All right. And that was on health and safety. On health and safety. Can you believe it? So I don't think that'll ever be topped. It was ridiculous. So here's the thing. But you can't give a 60-second presentation with PowerPoint. It's practically impossible to do. You might do one picture, but other than that, it's impossible. So what can you do? Well, I don't know. We need a system, don't we? One or two of you need I know about the system I'm going to share because I've shared it on numerous occasions with family business practice members. But you need a system, I believe, to help you out, something that gets you out of trouble. I have many times been sitting somewhere when somebody has said, tell me about your business. And I know full well they've heard me talk before. Maybe they've seen me speak, etc. So to give a same canned 60-second presentation that you give over and over and over again eventually becomes boring. And again, I'm sure some of you could probably do somebody else's 60 seconds for them because that's the only one they ever do. Is that true? Yes, I can think of somebody right now that I could give that 60-second presentation to. I've known them for years. They never change it. They never alter it. Now, there's two arguments to it. One is, well, at least you remember it. But after a while, it gets a bit boring, doesn't it? So we need to stay relevant in people's minds because if you keep giving that 60-second presentation, and let's say you're in a a networking group. If you keep giving the same one, nobody's listening because they're going, oh, here comes Fred, and that Fred is going to give that same presentation. So you need to vary, you need to change it, but you need to try and stay on song with it too. So I believe that the answer, my get out of jail script, or one of several that I share, but for 60 seconds, this is my get out of jail one, is to use a system, a simple process. And the simple process here is talk about a client and how you help them. Talk about a client and how you help them. One or two of you here this morning are actually in that picture. It's kind of cool as well, isn't it? Talk about a client and how you help them. Now, here's a couple of rules. Never talk about a client if you think it's inappropriate to do so, or if they wouldn't like you to do so. All right. So be careful with that. Definitely be careful with that. All right. And the second thing is don't keep talking about them, because again, people will go, oh, he's going to talk about Bill Blogs Limited. So it's a good idea to vary it. And the reason, but the other good reason about varying it is that you stay enthusiastic. If you're delivering the same old story over and over again, it gets boring. And you know what? Your business moves, their business moves. Why not share another story, something a little different? So talk about a client and how you helped them. That's the number one. In other words, share stories. Alan, you're nicely on that picture right now, sharing a story with Ben. And stories are powerful. As you all know, I've got lots of speaker pals in the Professional Speaking Association. We all know that stories are we are storytellers. It is what we do. I am known as a storyteller. And I share stories because they're far more interesting than a canned presentation. So if you share a story about one of your clients or a situation, people are far more likely to listen. So here's the process coming up. That is it. It's called problem, pain, solution, result. You might want to scribble it down. One or two of you at least, I know it, but scribble it down again while I have a slurp of water. Excuse me. Problem, pain, solution, result, and as it says on the slide, in that order. In this order. Do not change it. It doesn't work. I've tried it. It doesn't work. Problem, pain, solution, result. What does it mean? It's a variant on a process. Dave Bird knows a version of this process. What's your problem? What was the problem that you saw that your client had? What was the challenge that your client had? The second one is, why was it a pain to them? Was it costing them probably time, money, people issue, something? It was a pain in the whatever, but that problem was causing them a pain. You provided the solution. What was the solution that you provided? Nice and simple. And what was the result? Problem, pain, solution, result. In that order. Nice and simple. And you might just have created interest if you're in a room of 25 people who are all taking it turns. Nobody's really listening because they're still eating their overcooked bacon and sausage and egg that's gone a bit cold because they're too nervous to speak about it. Here's a nice story. You may have created interest. And if you change it regularly, people are far more likely to listen to you because they go, what's Fred going to talk about today? It'll be something different. Now, it's an age-old process. It's in, one of my books, In Death Came Third. It's been around a long, long time. First time I saw it used really well was with a guy called Peter Thompson. And I co-credit Peter with problem, pain, solution, result. And I think we should play and test it. So that's the process, all right? And I'm just going to bring myself back to that. So we're all back again. And for some reason, there we go. Yeah, okay, we've got that there. So problem, pain, solution, result. I'm going to give you an example. Now, it is an old example. Again, one or two of you may have heard me do it before. I just think it's really appropriate. That was a gentleman that was down in the southeast, a company I'd done a lot of business consulting with, and they'd gone very well. And then we kind of ran its course. That was great. And he dropped me a message on the phone probably a couple of years later. And this is a long time ago now. And he said, Peter, can you get in touch as soon as you can? It's urgent. So I talked to him, and funny enough, his name was Peter too. And I said, what's the problem? He said, well, Peter, the business has changed dramatically since we went away. And I said, well, why? What's different? They were a reprographics company. And he said, you know that reprographics is not the easiest thing to explain. And to be frank, the way that he used to do it was a very old school, very, how do I put it politely? A very much old guy, old school selling type, where you got to know people, bit of this, bit of that, bit of nudge, bit of that. Very, very different. Very, a bit car salesy. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it these days. Forgive me, anybody listening from car selling, all right? And he said, I can't do that anymore. And I said, why? And he said, well, we're now dealing with professional buyers. One day they're buying chairs, and today they're buying reprographics. Except, of course, they don't really know what reprographics is, so they don't really bother with it. They just push the cheapest price and carry on. And that's never going to work for us, because we're all about quality and service, and it comes at a cost, comes at a price. And I said, okay, well, we can work on that. And I said, anything else? And he said, well, there is one other thing. They're women. Dawn's looking at me now. Anyway, there you go. And I said, well, so what? And he said, well, we've always, the industry has always been male. It's completely male dominated. But of course, professional procurement or purchasing executives, there are a lot more women. And that was then, let alone now. And I said, okay. And he said, I don't know how to get this conversation going in a way that I can relax and they understand what we do sufficiently, so they put their pen down and start listening to me properly. And I said, okay, let's work with problem, pain, solution, result. And if I just think about it very, very quickly, I'll try and do my version of his version of a 60-second presentation, so I need to think about it, which is, the Christmas present that happens every year for young children. The one that Father Christmas brings, the one that, is this year's Christmas toy. Well, a couple of years ago, the Christmas toy was actually Santa in his sleigh. Santa was in his sleigh and he had his reindeer at the front and it came in a fancy box, and the box was brilliant because when you took Santa in his sleigh out, there was a game in it as well. And it was wonderful. And all the kids wanted it, and that meant that lots of people had to make sure that Santa got that present delivered on the day. There was a problem. There was a big, big problem because unfortunately some of the antlers were broken, on a lot of those toys, and the game didn't work properly. Didn't fit, but all the cardboard didn't fit properly. It didn't work, and well, little Johnny wasn't very happy on Christmas Day, and little Johnny's dad was even less happy because on Boxing Day you can guess where he had to go and talk to people about getting a replacement one. You see, the thing is, reprographics brings together theory and practice. What it actually does is make sure that the toy fits correctly in the box, that the game fits correctly, that it doesn't get damaged, while Santa's delivering it. And so little Johnny is happy. And that's what we do. And that's why the following year they work with us and not with somebody else. And little Johnny that Christmas with a completely different toy was very happy. But I don't think Mick Jagger was there either. But we'll see. It may be. Do you get the idea? Problem, pain, solution, result. All right. What was the problem? The problem was, if you don't do it properly, it's going to be a big, big problem. And for that's a true story. The only thing I changed is it's not Santa in his sleigh. It cost that toy company and the company who were providing those toys a great deal of money. Problem, pain, solution, result. So that's it. So that works. And we're 14 minutes into what I wanted to be a 20-minute example. So who'd like to have a go at that then? One of you is going to have a go at it. All right, Alan's going to go. Dave's going to have a go. All right, Alan, I want you to think of a story about a client. Just to think about it for a few seconds. Think about the problem that they had. Think about the pain that was associated with it. How did you, very briefly, provide a solution, and what was the fantastic result that meant that happened for that client?
Just off the top of my head.
Just play. This is just a play session because I want to demonstrate it. Give it a go.
Okay, so managing director was having terrible problems with his sales director not producing the sales strategy that he required. And when he looked at it more closely, he understood that it was because the sales director was micromanaging everywhere. And he got onto the personnel department, HR department, who then fortunately spotted me on the internet and said, "Can you help?" And I said, "Yeah, a bit of coaching there. I think we can do that. We can do something with that." So I made them a proposal. They accepted the proposal. We went through it, and we had 6 coaching sessions. Gradually, the sales director stopped micromanaging and doing all the jobs. He actually started delegating. And by the end of the sessions, he had the free time to get on with the strategic planning that he was supposed to be doing. And the managing director was really, really happy.
There you go. Now that took about an hour, a minute 40. But you know what? You could easily knock that down, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And get it slick. So that was a great test. A round of applause for Alan, please. Dave, do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I had a client recently, a being expert, but she needs to show her face more often to, get the trust and credibility she wanted. But she had incredible fear. This is the pain of hearing on camera. So what we did is have all the pressure on her to come down to the studio and sort of perform. We wove it into a testimonial of actually one of her clients saying how pleased they were with her work, and she kind of fit in the margins. And for that, I kind of coached her and got her confident, and we used a teleprompter in a clever way so it didn't seem too scripted. And the result is she's professional exposure in person that can be conveyed 24/7, but it isn't putting all the pressure on her.
There you go. Works, doesn't it? It's not hard when you think it through, especially when you might have 2 minutes notice, which has happened to me on numerous occasions, because people say, "Oh, well, Peter, you're well known for speaking, etc. Could you fill it, and fill in for a few minutes?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, blimey, what am I going to talk about?" Problem, pain, solution, result can work very well. Adam, Neil,
yeah,
Dawn, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Go on, Adam. Give it a whiz. Oh, by the way, just before you do, I'll just there you go. Dave James is just saying hello, everybody, which is kind of nice. So I've said hello back, so it's kind of good, isn't it? So, right, Adam, off you go.
So we had a customer now, was a potential customer that was very happy with their existing IT support company. And they said they're great. Every time they phone them up, when this system crashes and all of their staff stop what they're doing and go and make a cup of coffee, and they're quite a large organisation, they were happy that the IT company that looked after them got onto it fairly quick and resolved it. We looked at it from a different angle and we wanted to stop it happening. So using our monitoring software, we found out what the problem was. And although we couldn't stop the problem completely because it was more software related, we actually put something in place that if it stopped, the service automatically started again. So they didn't even need to phone us. So if it stops, most of the users don't even know they've got a problem and it fixes itself. And now none of them all stop and have a coffee. So a lot of the staff don't like us now.
Well, there you go. That was about a minute. Now, what's interesting is how, if you thought about it just a little longer and then talked about it with that, if you wanted to, you can practice it, rehearse it, get it bang on. But what I like about it is, Adam, you're just chatting. And it's the same for yourself, Dave and Alan as well. You're just kind of chatting. And the best 60-second presentations are always when you're just kind of chatting in your own language, in your own way. And people appreciate that. As soon as you stand up and become super duper and very structured and formed, it might seem good, but you won't get the same connection because it's not surreal. You're more kind of just chatting away, just as if you're on a one-to-one with somebody, just as if you're in the office the same. It makes so much difference. Neil, do you want to have a go at it?
Yeah, okay. I'm a travel counsellor, by the way, to the people that don't know me. So I got a call from a customer of mine who phoned up and said, "Can you help me? My ex-wife has taken my daughter to Italy on holiday. They're due to fly back tomorrow, and my ex-wife has gone down with COVID. So I want to get my daughter home. because I don't want her stuck there on her own while her mother's in hospital. So I just phoned a few people that I knew in the industry, and we managed to get them on the daughter on a flight back the following day back into Bristol Airport. So her dad went and picked her up, and I spoke to the father later on and said, what about your ex-wife? Do you want me to get her home? And he said, no, she can rot in hell. So not only do I help my own customers, I help other people's customers as well. I like to try and bring a bit of humour into it, Peter. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, I know what you're like, Neil. No, that's excellent. I love it. I don't think I should, but anyway, there you go. No, it's excellent. Oh, look, it works, doesn't it? Dawn, you're the only one left. Got to give it a
best
try.
of last. There you go.
Of course. Best of
It was the start of the pandemic, actually. We had a client that approached us who needed to get access to grant funding, which is a strange request on the basis we're a law firm. But his accountant was out of action due to personal issues, so he called me to help. I got in touch with my professional network in terms of local enterprises and growth hubs, and actually made the connection for the client, who was delighted. And got access to the resources that he needed to get the funding that he obviously needed. And I suppose from his perspective, it was a win-win bonus on the basis he didn't have to pay any solicitor's fees for the privilege. So he was very happy, Chaplain.
it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just works, and I've shared problem, pain, solution, result, and there are variants that you'll see from various people, but it works. Most people are based in the service industry in this country. Most of us are always looking to help people with their challenges, problems, whatever you want to call it. And so if you can identify that, and then obviously understand, why it's such a challenge for them, where is that pain? Why is it so important? And if you can create a result for them, of course they're likely to be happy with you, which may or may not mean business. Dawn, it didn't mean business for you, but you've got a happy client anyway, didn't you? And that's the point, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So that the process works. So I would suggest, you think through is next time you're doing your a 60-second, if you're going to a networking event or what have you, think about explaining what you do with a story. Instead of saying, well, this is what I am and blah, 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 you can do that afterwards. You can have that conversation afterwards. You can say, well, let me, we'll talk more about it. But this is the sort of thing that I do to help people. And people are far more interested in that. You will create attention. And as I said, if you're in a networking group and there's 20 odd people in there, or one of these more generalized one where you're around a table and there's lots of tables, and they're shifting everybody around every few minutes, most people can't take it in. They're not listening. And if you just pitch, if you're just pitching a standard blah, they're not really listening. Whereas if you catch their attention and talk about a real situation, your body language changes, your voice intonation changes, your face changes, hopefully you're smiling, about what it's about. All of a sudden, they're going to take an interest in you. Even if what you're talking about means no sense to them at all, because it's not their kind of thing, if you like. They will be interested in you enough to have a conversation where perhaps you can help each other. And that's how I think problem pain solution result works. As I said, I've used it an awful lot. You've just all demonstrated it works for those people that have been listening to it. I think you'll be finding that useful. I've had a few comments in here, believe it or not. They've all said, I'm going to go away and try it. This recording will be on all the different social media platforms, and it will also be in our video vault as well for our family business practice members. And my intention was to take about 25 minutes to do that as a live session. We are going to continue to talk about things about what we do and how we do it now, but as far as social media is concerned, those of you who have been listening to it or look at this at a later date, this has been the Family Business Practice, and I hope you found it useful. And everyone now is going to wave and say, ta-ra! Ta-ra!
Bye.
There you go.